So over the past few days, we have been talking about what I call the deep game of basketball. And the deep game of basketball is the part of basketball that is played with the mind. And the player currently in the NBA who has mastered this part of basketball more than anyone else, in my opinion, is Damian Lillard. And he probably currently playing, he is, I would say, my favorite player to watch. And my favorite story about Damian Lillard actually happened years before he ever got to the NBA. So I'd like to share it with you today because there's a huge lesson in here for the deep game that you can apply to your game immediately. So the story goes, in Damian Lillard, I believe it was his junior year of high school, maybe his senior year, they were playing the best team in the state. And at the time, they were down 3. There was like 7 or 8 seconds left in the game or something like that. And Lillard is bringing the ball up against their opposing point guard. Clock's ticking down. He brings the ball up. He gets like 1 foot over half. And you can just picture him doing this, right? He gets 1 foot over half, defender in his face, and just rises up for 3 at the buzzer. Ball goes in. Game is tied, sends it into overtime against the best team in the state, and everybody goes ballistic. The stands are like jumping up and down, players rush the floor. Damian is just like losing his mind, not like he does today. He is like beating his chest and jumping up and down and celebrating. And as the story goes, he looks up into the corner of the bleachers where his dad sits. And his dad always sits in like the top corner up there. And he saw his dad, and all his dad did was like one of these, just a quick fist pump, and sat right back down. And he basically said at that moment when he saw his dad, he was like, okay, this dude is different. And since that day, he's been basically adopting that frame of mind, that like cold assassin frame of mind. And there's a very important reason for this. Because he did that, you probably saw last season when he played against Russell Westbrook, who's kind of the opposite, right? Very, very explosive, not only physically, but emotionally as well. When he played against Westbrook in the playoffs and he hit that shot over Paul George, that whole series, he and Westbrook are going at each other, and Lillard is like stonewalled, stone cold, barely ever reacts emotionally. And Westbrook is just jawing at him the whole time and doing what Westbrook does. In that series, Lillard averaged like 10 more points per game. His team won. His over-under was dramatically higher. I think his field goal percentage was also like 10% higher. You might be able to correct me on that, but bottom line, he won that matchup by a long shot. And Damian Lillard has basically mastered the third law of the deep game. Now, over the past few days, I've been talking about the first law of the deep game, the law of presence, the second law of the deep game, which is the law of reverse effort, and the third law is called the law of extremes. So the law of extremes states that as emotion increases, consistency decreases. Okay, as emotion increases, consistency decreases. So when you're out there on the floor, as you get more emotionally charged, it doesn't mean you can't play well. You can, of course, get really emotionally fired up and go on a hot streak. That happens. What you can't do is play well consistently. So the key that players like Lillard and in the past players like Kobe and Michael Jordan, all of Phil Jackson's championship teams, and many of the best players in history, Dwayne Wade has said this many, many times as well. LeBron has said this many times. The key is to not let yourself get too high emotionally, so don't get too excited like in that game-winning shot. Don't get too excited when you do well, and don't get too low when you do badly. Just stay in the pocket, stay even-keeled, and that's going to give you a much more reliable, consistent level of performance. There is a technique around this that we call channeling. And channeling essentially allows you to take the strong emotions that you feel during the game and all of the excitement or the frustration or the anger or the like fire that you feel during the game and channel them into your most explosive performances on the basketball court. And I'm going to be teaching that technique as a part of the Deep Game Masterclass tonight. Okay, so tonight at 8 p.m. It's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern time. So you can click the link around this video or on this page, or go to deepgame.com to register for it. But tonight at 8 p.m., I'm going to be teaching the entire map of the deep game with all 8 laws that control how well you play the part of basketball that is played with the mind. Okay, so we've already gone over the first 3 laws. There's 8 of those laws, and I'm going to reveal not only, I will be going into more depth on the first 3, but I'm going to be revealing laws 4 through 8 tonight on that masterclass. So again, make sure that you register. We're coming down to the wire now, so you know, this really is, if you want to play college and professional basketball, the deep game, like I've been saying all week, is just not optional. It's mandatory. And if you can't play the deep game at a high level, you're not going to have the toughness and the presence and the control over your inner state that is required to play this game at an elite level. So make sure that you register for this masterclass that will be going live tonight at 8 p.m. And I cannot wait to see you there. Make sure that you bring a notebook, bring a pen, a pencil, whatever you want to take notes, and keep those notes with you to remind yourself as you go, you know, into pretty much any game. Okay, so once again, 8 p.m. tonight. I cannot wait to see you there, and make sure that you register now if you haven't already.